welcome my fellow panelists, very distinguished panelists who have flown from one part of the world or the other. Mr. Kaul from Bombay, Rohit Khattar from Hyderabad, Vikram Madhok from Vegas, where he is taken up to the casino playing as a main work for him, with tour operator being a part-time activity. And Mr. Deepak Joshi from Kathmandu. So welcome my distinguished panelists. I'm sure you know all of them. They don't need any introduction. The subject for this session is luxury. Has it changed? In what way? I'll go straight to the questions. The first one is a generic one, where I'm going to be asking from Mr. Kaul onwards, coming this side. Has the understanding of luxury changed in the last decade or two? Consequently, or even otherwise, is luxury the same for different people, or does it mean different to different people? So your understanding of luxury is not mine, and mine is not yours. So would you like to just start with some basic points on your understanding of the complexity or the dynamics of luxury, evolving luxury?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Navin. Good afternoon, friends. So luxury, by definition, is something which is rare. Luxury, if you were to look at the dictionary, and I should have looked at the thesaurus, but I think it would be, it used to be, which was not in abundance. You know? That is what gave it. So exclusivity is exactly what was one of the, that's why it was aspired. There was aspiration for it. But the other dimension, the real dimension of luxury really is something which evokes desire. You want it. You may not need it, you want it. You know, in school we were taught the water diamond paradox, right? The diamond is of no real use, but it commands a premium because it evokes desire. That's really what it is. So having said that as a context, yes, of course it's been evolving, and I think COVID has been, clearly was a watershed event which galvanized. You know, people did a lot of rethinking, recalibration, rebooting, and for hospitality, clearly the shift was more from a product-based thing to experiences. You know, I mean, just to give an example, earlier it was all about you wanted to have a car. Today you wanted to have maybe a Mercedes or a BMW or a limousine car, and then suddenly it shifted to that what you really wanted was wheels. You wanted to get from A to B. And it was the ease and the speed with which you could get it which was more important. So coming back to your question as to, the dimension of luxury has multiple things. It means different things to different people. One man's luxury is not the other man's luxury. It's a continuum that is going on. But just to come down to hospitality, just as a context, for us, it moved clearly from, there were some major shifts. Earlier, it was more to do with abundance and, grandeur and maybe status. And from there, it shifted to something which was more immersive, well-being, and personal change. These were the attributes that came into it. So we'll have a chance to go deeper into it, but I think that's just as a starter, I wanted to share that.
Rohit, what is your take?
I think luxury has moved from away from ownership to experience. It's actually memories you crave. Once you have your dream home, you have your car, you have every worldly possession, then what else are you really looking for? You're looking for memories, you're looking for experiences, you're looking for something which is better than what you had expected. I just opened 2 restaurants in Hyderabad, literally yesterday. got late as usual, but I was supposed to. And I was staying at the ITC. So the F&B manager had come for the industry night, and we'd really deliberated a lot on the pricing. And these are our casual dining restaurants. Fireback and a new bar called Barback. Fireback is Thai. And the idea was to keep it below 2,000. And so I said, no, with alcohol, you got to go below 2,000. And then a lot of people were pitching Indian accent to us in Hyderabad. And I said, I don't know whether people have the spending power to do that. And funnily enough, when we were at ITC, I was just talking to the F&B manager. I said, what's your average check at Peshawari? He said, sir, 1,800, 2,000. I said, no, with alcohol. He said, no, sir, with alcohol. I said, Dampukt, 2,200, sir. So I looked at my CEO, we both together. I said, yaar, we've gone too high. So the point I'm coming to is that many a times, in fact, I had a big argument with one of the jury members after he put Cormorant in fine dining. And I said, but your criteria is below 2,000. We're 1,550 average check. He said, ho hi nahi sakta. Every time I go there, I spend more. I said, depends on your alcohol. But my average check is 1,550. So what did we end up doing? A lot of people end up giving us fine dining for Cormorant, for Hosa. They're casual dining restaurants at 1,500. We just made the experience slightly better. So the DNA was Indian accents DNA. We know that there's a market for the 1,500, 2,000 person to feel slightly more elevated. And he comes in and he actually thinks he's had a fine dining experience, but it's still okay on the pocket. So I think this whole thing has started evening out. It's really the experience which becomes luxury and not really the ownership or being able to spend that much money.
Vikram, what is your take as a tour operator?
So I'm going to share a little story before I answer your question. Some 27 years ago, I joined Abercrombie in Kent, 28 years ago, hotelier in my previous life. And I was at a meeting in Chicago with my president at that time, and my job was to bring, luxury travelers into India. And they were not coming to India. And so I impressed upon my president saying that, India is exotic, it's different, it's experiential, it's got all the trappings what somebody wants when they want to come and check off a few boxes, and it's got the Taj Mahal, it's got. So he says, you know what, young man, let me tell you, before the travelers start coming to India, anybody who signs up, Mr. Smith, Mr. John, I will be writing refund checks. And the reason being, because you have a visa issue, you have an airport issue, your flights don't take off, your roads are broken. The only saving grace you have are hotels. The only saving grace that we have is hotels. Well, fast forward today, 27 years later, we've checked off all those boxes. Now people come, but by the way, they even came then for experiences. Because when they went back, India touched an indelible mark on them, left a mark on them that it's a country that cares, has empathy, actually beautiful to the soul. And that's what India is all about. And as a tour operator, I can answer your question as running Abercrombie in Kent for the longest time, and before that with hotels. Once upon a time, it used to be beautiful hotels, beautiful villas and beautiful palaces and so on and so forth. Now it is not that. That's important. Let's not be wrong about it. People want somebody who's paying north of $700 or $800 per person per night, going to $8,000 per person per night. $8,000 per person per night. They have very high expectations. The more you pay, the higher the expectation. We deliver it. We are delivering that experience on the ground in India, and believe it or not, people go back. 99% or 98% people go back saying, I really had a great holiday in India. Luxury is a given. our lovely
So
hotels.
does your
have done us
chairman still sign those refund checks or no?
No. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So, contrary to my being a young Turk and saying, no, 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 I'm not going to be writing refund checks, I wrote refund checks. I wrote refund checks to a guy called Alistair Ballantyne, and funnily enough, he went to join Oberoi Hotels. And he said, if I send guests to India, they're going to come back sick, they're going to be blah, 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 etc., etc. But perception.
Thanks. So what we have on this panel today, gentlemen, is that Rajiv is a experienced hotelier in the luxury space with the Oberoi, briefly Taj, and then Leela experiences. Rohit is the fine dining with Indian accent. Even something like Chor Bazaar, I think, is experiential to another degree altogether. Vikram, the tour operator. And Deepak Joshi is, apart from ETN Traveler founder member, till recently he was the CEO of the Nepal Tourism Board. And he has spent the maximum number of time managing Nepal's tourism. So Deepak ji, I want to check with you. Nepal was always known for experiential. How much of it is today luxury? And is the understanding of your travelers coming to Nepal, is that undergoing any shift in their expectation of Nepal as a destination?
I think luxury tourism and experiential tourism is nearly 30 years ago, it was a kind of synonym to tourism was luxury tourism, and now the experiential tourism has become a kind of synonym to overall tourism. So that is, in my view, I think it is not replaced luxury tourism, but it is elevated tourism. For example, the earlier we used to talk about the big rooms, chandelier, royal sofa type of things, but these days in hotels or in hospitality industry, people look for more wellness, more authentic experiences within the hotel, more, the locally engaged itineraries nearby. So that kind of things is expanded or added. So in that line, countries like Nepal, who has the much diverse attractions in a limited area, has great potential. And in one word, I think the experiential tourism is putting cherry on the cake. We eat cake, but we remember cherry. So that kind of things are there, just a widening the paradigm shift.
Rajiv, I'll come back to you in terms of the hotel space or the hospitality space. The changing understanding of luxury, the dynamics, so to say, the evolving dynamics. Has it made any new demands in the architecture or in the planning of hospitality? How you are building hospitality experiences? Has that changed in any way, and in what way?
It has. I mean, for the successful ones, it has. See, we need to understand that earlier it was more about display. Now it is depth. Earlier you had you wanted drama, and a person would say, wow. Today, that's not enough. It has to be accompanied by a why. Because the emphasis is on meaning. It's on authenticity. There's a sense of place. This is it, and I'm speaking about the luxury sphere, which is, let's say we're talking about $1,000 a night upwards. So the brands that understand this, they've realized that there has to be a pivot for them. For example, for Aman, it is privacy and calm. Mm-hmm. Now, they identified calm because one of the most precious things, in fact, the most precious thing in life is time. And if you can slow it down, and that is what they do with their architectural and design elements, creating slow zones where it gives you the feeling that time has slowed down. Similarly, for example, you have community zones. You have multi-generational travel, which is happening now. And one of the most common problems is that somebody has 3 or 4 rooms, a family has 4 rooms. Where do they sit and spend quality time together? Unless somebody has taken a suite, you don't have that. So you're spending that time where? In a restaurant or a lounge. Now you didn't go all that distance to sit in a lounge. So since you talked about the architectural and the elements, these are some of the things that are carefully looked at. I mean, it's all about purpose, authenticity, and adding value. And you don't have, earlier hotels were, even luxury hotels or city hotels, it was basically city hotels, I'd like to explain this, that in India we call resorts, but really those resorts were not resorts. They were built as city hotels outside of urban limits. That's all. But they were not really resorts, and that's why the average length of stay there would be not more than 1 or 2 nights or 3 nights, whereas typical resorts would be 7. It's only in Goa that you had them, And that also was not for the domestic clientele, but you had the overseas people. In India, you had them in Kashmir, if you remember. When families would be returning every summer for several weeks. So it's in the resorts which have really, and I think when we are discussing luxury and hospitality, the heavy lifting is being done by the resorts, where there's immense creativity that's coming in.
Can you name me a few of these resorts which you call as distinct from city hotels being taken out?
New ones being built, or you're talking?
In India.
Look, I'm advising on a few, and these are, I think probably if I'm not in violation of any NDA here, but there are a couple of them, but there are some vilasas. Okay? There's some vilasas that we are doing, which are coming on. I think we are going to have a very exciting landscape of luxury resorts in the next 5 years. Because resorts for 30 years was the most ignored product segment in hospitality. Why? Because the vilasas didn't do well. The money was always in the city hotels, So it's only COVID which changed it all. And now, with land prices being so prohibitive in urban centers, it is the resorts that are really having a wonderful opportunity. So there are clearly going to be some world-class resorts that are going to be opening in the next 5 years.
Rohit, can you share with us some of the trends which you are witnessing in dining space? Changing profile, you did touch upon price points as one, but what you are serving, your Indian accent experience, then you've got this little, what do you call it, 1 floor above? Upstairs. I mean, it's a different environment that you've created.
I think we realize authenticity is actually the new extravagance. And when we opened this bar above Indian accent, it was not difficult to fill it because just the waiting list of Indian accent could fill it, and we could actually give the same. But I realized there was this huge cachet of being able to create a members bar. And for members places, they always take time. When we started India Habitat Center, I think for 2 years nobody came to the performing arts, and then suddenly they became. But I realized that if you only have 32 seats, then can we make this a place where you can belong? So this whole feeling of belonging, people wanting to belong to a club. So whether it was the old days, the Annabelles in London, or today if you look at Soho House, which has got the imagination of youngsters or the hipper people, this feeling of belonging, to be part of a community. He mentioned something very interesting. I go with my school friends once every 2 years, minus wives. We just go to become children again. We'll never go to a hotel because not everybody can afford a suite. So we'll always take some place where we can actually sit and actually have some slow time together, because there's just no way you want to be bottled into. So as far as the hardware is concerned, that's not going to stop. People will still make the best hotels and restaurants. It's actually the software and the feelings which are changing with time. So for example, fine dining, to a great extent, the days are numbered. A lot of people don't want, in fact, we from day one didn't stick to only a tasting menu. A lot of people find that very precious. Don't do that. By precious, I don't mean expensive. It's just a Ponzi thing to do. Why am I doing these 12 courses? What's this fancy stuff? And
But-
why is he interrupting me every 5 minutes? I want to chat with my...
So in terms of experience or in terms of dining out, are we moving into actually new experiential zones in a manner of speaking?
Yes, yes.
Just next to my house, for instance, there's a place called Kala. It had open space,
Kala.
CAALA.
Oh, okay.
If you go there in the evening, you won't find space. And what he's done a few weeks ago, in an open space, he built a tent. And it's air conditioned. And you'll see kids around 30, 40 or younger. They don't even look at the price points. His average check must be like 3,000 to 4,000 bucks per head. It's a different ballgame altogether and full of people. So how does that reflect for you in terms of...
No, that's a really good thing. As I said, a lot of what I think are casual dining restaurants, people are misinterpreting as fine dining. Even though I'm charging lesser, but I'm elevating the experience a bit more. I feel that while an Indian accent may survive, I don't think people really want fancy fine dining anymore. Worldwide, we can see it diminishing. In fact, some of the awards that people are winning are maverick chefs in a very grungy environment, and he's got tattoos, and he's serving you, and he's still getting 3 Michelin stars, right? So it's totally changed the paradigm of what luxury was supposed to be. It wasn't stiff upper lip, napkin, white tablecloths anymore. There are people who are just doing it, like this young guy from who's opened Nar in Kasauli, right? You got to trudge to Nar and eat normal Himalayan
Pratik
trout.
Sadhu, yeah,
Pratik Sadhu. So these are the kind of experiences that people are craving, and there's going to be much, much more of this coming up.
I mean, just if I may just add to this, I don't know if you've heard, there's a new term that's come out, hospitality. So this is hospitality meeting slow tourism. And your question was, so these when you're purpose designing hotels for hospitality.
And many restaurants have banned telephones. They just don't want you to be taking pictures. They want you to enjoy the khana. Because everybody's coming there and you used to first see with your eyes. Now you're actually more into showing others what you're eating. So many people have banned cell phones in restaurants.
Vikram, you are the inbound specialist. In terms of foreign tourists coming in the high-end space, has the demand for or the interest in going beyond the traditional Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, has that diversified over the last few years? Has new products appeared on the Indian scene, or are we still flaunting the old stuff?
Again, once before I answer your question, I'm going to come back to you with a little story. About 25, 30 years ago, Abercrombie in Kent realized that we can't just be making regular programs and putting them in our brochures and promoting them worldwide. We must set up a differentiate our offerings. We set up something called the Marco Polo Club. The Marco Polo Club is actually where there are torch bearers, where somebody goes into off the beaten path. If they like what they see, if there's a critical mass, there's a focus group is put out. And if somebody wants to go in larger numbers, then we incorporate that into our brochures and we make it a program as an A&K program. It's a membership-based program, Marco Polo. It was one of the most successful programs because age and stage. People in their 20s like Rajiv and Rohit prefaced it about cars and homes and all these. Once you check off all these boxes, travel comes somewhere along the line. Once you're in your 50s and 60s, you have time at your disposal, you have discretionary monies, And so for this category of client, we set up Marco Polo Club. Runaway success. We took them into places, I'm talking about 20 years ago when there was nothing, no luxury, nothing, into Kerala. We took them into Ladakh. We took them into our wildlife parks. And believe you me, we didn't have any luxury resorts those days, very basic. We actually even took them into Varanasi. We set up camps. And thereafter, it came into our brochures and so on and so forth. Today, we have clearly distinct channels of marketing to different kinds of people. And again, we are, for people who are wanting to spend $800, $700, $600 per person per night, we give them a first-class product. For somebody who wants a luxury, uber luxury product, you give them $1,800 to $1,200 per person per night. Somebody who wants to fly semi-private, so you come into, you land in a first-class seat on one of the self-respecting airlines, and we then fly them privately within the country. And then we have this, the creme de la creme, the Rolls-Royce, which is around the world by private jet. And that takes you to about $7,000, $8,000 per person per night. And that brings you into India on every stop.
So these guys stay where, in which hotels in
Great
India?
question.
Sorry?
So, yes. It's usually hub and spoke. If the jet can arrive, for example, the last trip, arrived in Jaipur, stayed at the Raj Villas. Not that the Rambagh Palace is not conducive or suitable, but then we went for the experience to the Six Senses. This year, that was in February. This year we're getting it 2 times. This year it lands, and believe it or not, it's in Goa, and we take them to once upon a time Leela, which is now the St. Regis. So they stay at the St. Regis, 4 nights, experiential, vintage cars, Fenny Farms, dining in a 350-year-old mansion with a Portuguese family, going on catamarans, which is straightforward, but no, with a twist. So they're doing experiential stuff while coming in, and of course, luxury is a given. It's a given on this kind of a trip. But actually, most of the trips that we run, then we have another brand. We have, I'm not going to use this forum to promote our brands, but A&K is on the top, and then you have Cox and Kings. Cox and Kings, the clients may be able to afford an A&K holiday, but they decide not to, because the way we positioned it is, it's purely experiential, where people engage with guides, and they're actually a little more knowledgeable than our guides and tour directors. They are educated, they're very refined. The Americans want to go and see gorillas in Uganda. It's not necessarily what the Cox and Kings client wants to do. So different strokes, different folks, but there's a market for everything put together.
Deepak, tell me, in case of Nepal, have you been able to add more tourism products in the luxury space? Because my understanding is there are quite a few in the last 5-10 years, and you're also announced through Mr. Binod Chaudhary's company the coming of Ritz-Carlton to Kathmandu in the next 4 years. So there is a lot of happening in there, which is also experiential, like going to a Hindu temple, for instance. What is the scene?
Yeah, especially post-COVID in last 4-5 years, we have received a very good number of international chain hotels in Nepal. Before COVID, we had nearly 12 to 14 5-star hotels, and now close to 30. And recently, as you mentioned, the chairman of Marriott, Mr. Marriott himself, was there in Kathmandu, and they have opened almost 6 or 7 different brands of Marriott. They are already in Kathmandu now. And they were, Mr. Marriott, he himself was also talking about the greater scope of experiential tourism in Nepal. And besides that, these international chain hotels, we have the locally grown boutique brands like Dwarika's, Sintamani is also doing very good. They are expanding another property in Mustang. Dusithani is there. These kind of luxury plus authentic brands are also there. And just I would like to add something as Mr. Vikram Madhok he mentioned. The companies like DMCs like TUI, Intrepid, All Expedition, G Adventure, these kind of companies are also selling. I mean the incorporating the experiential itineraries in the tour packages. For example, G Adventure. So they are keeping the guest nearly 8 to 10 days in the city-based hotels or luxury hotels, and 1 or 2 nights in nearby homestays. So that is also already incorporated there. For example, TUI, they have developed the immersive experiential itineraries inside Kathmandu. So that is becoming a new normal and widely accepted.
A question in general for all of you, because you are all selling hotels or experiencing hotels. In the Indian hospitality space, like the Taj and the Oberoi, ITC, in the luxury space, they have one brand, ITC Luxury or the Oberoi or Leela. Leela has only one brand. If you see the foreign players, Leela has 2 brands.
Leela Palace.
Ah, okay. So in the foreign brands, amongst the foreign brands, even in the luxury space, they are multi-brands. When will that differentiation start happening in the Indian brands? Or is that all right for your foreign customers or for whomsoever you are advising in the luxury space as hotels? Yeah?
I'm going to try and field that with hotels.
Sorry?
I'm going to try and field that for you, and of course let the experts speak about hotels. But the mandate that we have is to use the best hotel in the city that we are going to. Now, it's perception, but it's actually validated too. So if somebody arrives in Delhi, there are the top 2 or 3 hotels, we take one. I wouldn't tell you which one. In Agra, there's actually only one. We use that. In Jaipur, there are 3, actually now 4. We take the best, the hotel that has the highest perception and the best feedback and so on and so forth. And that's how we build a trip together.
What about the rest of the country? I mean, if you pick up another city like Bombay,
Like
Mumbai,
Mumbai has a plethora of choice, but it pretty much stays towards North Bombay, one of the 2 hotels. One of his ex-hotels, and of course the Taj, the Grand Dame, between these 2. So these hotels become clearly the defined icons for a luxury traveler. Now, it's not necessary that the luxury, that they're picking the best hotels, because it's for them, it's location, it is the perception, it's the awards. Today we are actually very fortunate that Indian hotels have got so many awards globally for being the best hotel in the world, the best spa hotel, the best resort property, and so on and so forth. So as Rajiv spoke about earlier, the hotels that made money, because I remember having many conversations with Mr. Oberoi and even Mr. Kekar in those days. Mr. Oberoi would say, the hotels that make money are the city hotels, but I will change everything with the landscape once I put up the villas. And he did. He changed everything. I mean, today, once the villas came about, it also gave a wake-up call to the Taj. And then they spruced up their properties. Now, anybody else who comes into the country who wants to set up a luxury property, they go and see what these people are doing. I said 6 senses for a private jet, experiential. So today, when people go travel internationally, they're big brands. And I just saw a rating of the brands. And today, happy to see Indian hotels in the top 10, yes, top 5 ratings. But we have a ways to go, Because if you talk about experiential luxury, you talk about unique locations, unique properties, unique settings. It's Aman. It's Six Senses. It's Sonu's hotels. What he does is mesmerizing. It's not just going in, snorkeling or deep sea diving in Maldives, but you dine under the stars and you can see galaxies. In your suite, the ceiling opens up, and you can see stars and sleep under the stars.
So then luxury earlier was also experiential. It wasn't just dining out of a
No, see, you began by
inexpensive-
saying why do hotel chains have that one brand in luxury? Sorry, you said the other way around, that they now have multiple brands. So I think you're probably talking about Marriott, where Starwood got acquired.
Marriott, Accor.
And if you look at, say, Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, not much of a difference. And again, depending on the city you're in, I've been to cities where you have a Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, Four Seasons, and in one city you'll say this one is better, the other city you'll say no, this is better, because they inherited another hotel. In fact, for example, the Ritz-Carlton in Chicago is run by Four Seasons. So it's a Ritz-Carlton, but run by Four Seasons, some kind of deal. So actually what's happened is the old world hotels are not, he didn't mention a single one of them. He again, in luxury, talked about what he defined as calmness, Aman. He talked about Six Senses. He talked about places which actually were not traditionally, in our days, the old days, you went to Hong Kong, you said Peninsula. Or somebody would say, okay, Regent. At that time, Regent had come up, right? Now, all that has changed. So the hardware, as I said earlier, everybody's still building beautiful hotels, and every one of Hilton will have a Conrad, and we'll try to make sure the Conrad's the best in that city. So hardware has not changed. But the overall perception now of what people want out of their luxury holiday has changed, or their luxury dining experience too.
Rajiv?
You asked a few questions, so I'll just
Answer them all.
See, the first one is that it was always experiential at the top. We had the palace experiences. These were unique. These were really, the Rajasthan was experiential, Kerala was experiential, Goa was experiential. And it stopped there. That's pretty much what it was. Right? So that always was there. Now, what is changing today is that there is hyper personalization, and it goes even beyond that. If you look at service, I mean, the Oberois, who are their backbone for success is really service excellence. And heart-filled service is their new adage, right, for their marketing communication. But they will also have to look at this deeply. Why? Because the uber luxury guy, and we are talking about that, they want today frictionless service. Somebody was talking about earlier, they does not want, the ceremonial dining. You want to take away the ceremony. You want to take away the effort. It should not look like a performance. It should be effortless. That's really what it is. It is with very graceful ease. So this is the new mantra for service. Then the other things that are coming in there is that you want clearly, cultural stewardship. You have to be. The resort is the destination. So it really has to be providing a full cultural insight into the sense of place, which it will do through architecture, design, and then through activities.
Tell me, in the luxury larger space, going beyond hospitality, is the trend in hospitality similar to other things like in retail or in other areas of consumers of luxury?
See,
Is there
the
any-
hospitality is, we are not as matured as retail and as other brands, So I think that there's so much to catch up. And particularly we're speaking from an India perspective, an Asia perspective, because they are at least one cycle ahead of us.
Rohit? That bell was meant for Rohit. I'd asked that when I ask for him, then please ring the bell.
Yeah, so authenticity will replace extravagance. People would want to go try something, like you said, and he just mentioned that they want to be in this 300-year-old Portuguese bungalow, dining with a bona fide Portuguese family as opposed to the fanciest restaurant. You want to do something artisanal. You actually want to go to Ladakh into this crazy. There's a uncle of mine who's Ladakhi actually, who has this farm, and you can't even walk there. And somebody came in a private jet to surprise his bride-to-be, and they wanted to milk the cows, and they wanted to sit in this village house. So all this is changing rapidly. I think one man's extravagance is another man's pain right now. They're not being able to handle it. One has to keep in tune with it, and I guess once you have invested in that car, in that house, and in that expensive holiday, you're now looking for something more. And I think there's a lot of creativity, and a lot of people are providing that something more. Repeatedly.
Okay, so I have 3.5 minutes to go. I just have a parting question for all of you, if you want to address it. How much of this phase which we are witnessing right now, is that also going to be another passing fad? And do you think it's going to last, or you expect some more dynamism or some more evolution to happen in the next, or rather, what's the next phase you predict going to be? Are we going to make jalebis out here, all of us? Why not? Will we have a neem tree in every hotel, which Mr. Sanyal was talking about, bringing back the lore of old?
Look, these things, it always happens in cycles, right? There's a classic saying, the more things change, the more they are the same. So this is nothing but a cycle. It's going to come back, it repeats itself, and the arc of the cycle could be 30 years, 10 years, 15 years. So the pendulum will swing. Everything you wanted to do, all your itineraries were fast-paced. Luxury was fast-paced. You wanted to see 10 things in 5 days.
I just hope we don't have.
Correct. And now you want, yes. And now then the pendulum swung to totally slow. That we'll spend 5 days to see just 2 things and understand them. So I think the pendulum will continue to swing. That's my take.
I was just saying that I hope we don't go back to bell bottoms, because these trends keep on changing.
Are we going to become more authentic in what we wear, for instance?
I think that
Are we going to go back to dhotis and lungis? Like much of South patronizes their traditional dresses much more than we do in the North.
I think the good thing is that basically the bandwidth is going to increase, and there is going to be all kinds of, there's not one kind of luxury. People desire different things at different times in their lives, on different occasions. There are different seasons. One size cannot fit all. So I think that you're going to have a plethora of choices which will serve us well.
You're the last word on whatever we've talked about.
I think the whole tourism is moving towards, in one word, sightseeing to sight feeling type of engagement. The visitors will not only look for the one particular property, rather than the overall experience that really transform, that really they feel better after the experience. Something like that is going to the widen tourism.
50 seconds.
Yeah, so conspicuous consumption, I would say, is down. They don't want to be over the top. Slow tourism is, I think, going to be, is going to remain. It's going to continue on. Let me conjure up this in 10 seconds. Dining at a stepwell that's over 1,000 years old with 3,000 candles, literally Michelin star food, beautiful, somebody making a nice martini drink in the middle of a nice area in Jodhpur, just outside of Jodhpur. Now that blows the hell out of people away. I mean, that takes you back, my God, what is this? And it's not the Palace Hotel, it's not the vintage car, it is that experience to have that sage play some mystical music. And just that whole backdrop, and we in India afford that at every stage of our travels.
Rohit, you were saying something. I saw you pick up the mic.
I would say access to what's rare, meaningful, and difficult to find will be the definition of luxury.
Wonderful. Thank you, friends, for being on this panel. I think we've had an illuminating discussion. Can I